To the animation people at the Twitch panel. I will be handling pages 1 through 3.
I'll handle 4 through 7.
Todd McFarlane and Image Comics present Udaku, Part 1.
Brian like the Bendis voice.
And I'll hold the music. You can't get enough.
You love weapons.
My trout.
16 weapons total.
Yeah.
No, you can tell this is vintage because they're still called the Redskins.
Wow. That's funny.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, exactly.
Political and dirty on a Sunday morning. So it really
Not
want
exactly me.
That's good for
Face the nation.
right?
Are we going to go with an official introduction or not? Or do we have a moderator?
This is it? Are we into it?
If not, we'll do it. The only rule is for a panel that we're on, you have to introduce us as if you were a pro wrestling announcer. He's going to get some literature to read. Yeah.
Arriba!
I got an issue of Spawn. I like it, you're good. Oh, he's good for it, good for it. Wait for it. My hands are beginning to hurt. I've got light swelling in my right palm.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome you to Phoenix Comicon! On my left, one of the most sought-after writers of animation and comics of the last decade. Adam Beechen serves as producer and head writer for the Hub's Transformers Robots in Disguise. Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Beechen. This gentleman is a veteran of storytelling and artist with credits of Cartoon Network, Warner Brothers, Jerry Bruckheimer Films, NBC, Disney, Sony, Toy Biz, and Marvel Entertainment. Welcoming Shannon and Aaron Denton. Shannon the Baker. With us, we have a WGA award-winning writer who has swiftly become the go-to guy for all the leading superhero at Warner Brothers Animation. Let's give a warm welcome to Guy Borser. Last but not least, he is an accomplished voiceover actor with more than 15 years of roles to his credit, starting out the Nickelodeon series Rocket Power. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason
Not weighing 130 pounds, soaking wet. All right.
Well, we can't beat that. That was awesome.
We do that so that if the panel sucks, you don't remember.
It's true. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got first prize.
Just like throwing the stuff, putting people's eyes out.
Robert Griffin III is yours.
See the scar I got at the Comic-Con, I answered the question right.
So here we are.
Cool. Is there a list of questions, or is this more submittal to the audience?
Yeah, we actually do have a mic here available if anybody wants to start lining up to ask.
But with one caveat, we won't talk about animation.
At all. This is strictly about sports or painting
Sports management.
houses or... My favorite color is paint
When it's
houses.
done.
Yeah. Anything but beige. Well, it's good.
Okay. Next question.
That's what we call it clothes.
But if you have questions about animation or working in animation or about any of us, you just come on, line up at the microphone, and we'll be happy to talk to you.
Let's do it.
Let's go ahead and start off with the first case. How'd you get into animation?
Sure.
How'd you get into animation?
Am I
I got a question first, then she walked.
Yeah, she walked right up. She got something impressive. Something.
Yeah.
No, I can wait. I can
No,
wait.
no.
We're here for you.
But I would like to hear that question.
No.
All right, I'll start since I'm at the end.
Oh,
So I have a microphone. I was in Chicago doing theater, and my company adapted books to the stage that I adapted and I directed. And one of the plays that we did was off a comic book by Jill Thompson called Scary Godmother. And Jill was involved, and Jill actually did the adaptation with me and designed the show. So the costumes and the sets looked like you were walking into her comic book, which was unbelievable. And then they sent someone, the company that owned the rights, which was at the time called Mainframe Entertainment, we all remember Mainframe, they sent someone to come see the show. And then they pulled me aside, I didn't know they were there, they pulled me aside and they said, this show is better than both scripts we've already written for the animated holiday special. Would you write the adaptation for the holiday special? And so I said, yeah, I would love to. And they said, oh, and by the way, since we've already paid for 2 scripts, we're out of money. So we have almost no money. But I still did it because I was in Chicago at the time and I was like, this is a huge opportunity. So I did it with Jill. We adapted the first book we adapted the show to the animation. And they run it on Cartoon Network every year since 2003. It's called Scary Godmother's Halloween Spooktacular. And that was my very first official credit, and it was in animation. So from there, I went to LA, and that was my first big thing. There you go. That's it.
When I moved to Los Angeles to be a writer, one of the writing samples I had was for a show called The Tick. Remember the I was able to get meetings at animation studios fairly early on because they were more interested in looking at new talent. People that they hadn't met before, or people who had just come in with unsolicited submissions or what have you.
Translation, cheap.
Yeah, very cheap. Does not cost much. And so I went into the meeting and they said, we loved this episode. We had no idea you had written this episode. And it wasn't an episode, it was just a script it was a sample. So I said, thank you. And they asked me if I wanted to write an episode of The Wild Thornberrys, which was just starting out at that time. And I wrote an episode, and that led to being on staff the first 2 seasons of Thornberrys, and then over to Rocket Power. And everything has come from that. So that's how I handle it. Thanks.
I won a contest. Okay, that's such a lie. I'd always been able to do voices ever since I was a kid, way too close to the TV, watching Hanna-Barbera and Warner Brothers, all that stuff. And I've always wanted to do voices. I moved to Los Angeles to do stand-up comedy and was not that great at it. But I had made my own demo reel of a cartoon that I had written and done all the voices in. And nobody in LA thought it was any good at all. It was just abysmal. I couldn't get a voiceover agent to save my life. And then I had a commercial agent at the time who had a voiceover department down the hall. And I was always sticking my head in the voiceover department when I would come into the commercial department and just, do stupid voices like, hello, how are you guys? And it was just awful. I'm sure it was terrible. But I wouldn't give up. Eventually, they had a non-union audition for a show called Sightings, which was about UFOs and stuff. Paramount did. And since it was a non-union gig, none of their voiceover people wanted to touch it at the time. But they knew that I was crazy, and they were like, would you want to audition for this thing? I said, sure, I'm happy to do it. So they had me leave a voicemail on the casting director's, that my audition was a voicemail. Come on. My audition was, call this number, and when it picks up, just leave a voicemail, and that's your audition. So I called up, and they needed the voice of a young Hebrew kid who saw this. But so this UFO up in this guy, and this Hebrew kid. So I was like, okay, I can do that. So I asked one of my Hebrew friends to talk for me. I listened to him for 5 minutes. I was like, good, I got it. I left the voicemail. A little bit later, they called me back and said, we want to book him. But I left it on Shabbos. Unfortunately, that's funny. Unfortunately, we don't know if you can get him to do this, but he's obviously not from this country, and could you ask him to do a little bit less of an accent?
Which is true because you're from Neptune.
It's not this country. Right. So
the note is less Jewy.
Right.
Could you do me a favor? Could you just cut a little bit of the Jew out of that? Because if you don't, we're not going to be able to hear it. I'm sorry.
Now do the Jewish accent.
I had that agent for all of a year. I didn't book any jobs. They let me go. I had a casting director. I was like, oh no, I don't have an agent. I didn't work for a whole year. I had another agent, another casting director say, I know you don't have an agent. Would you come in and read for this? I read for a few things. And I was always asking, hey, I need another agent. Do you know anybody? And Talent Group Incorporated saw me on the advice of a casting director named Elaine Craig. And when I went into TGI, they liked my personality. They picked me up, and a week later I was on Nickelodeon's Rockefeller. So the moral of the story is, don't give up. There is no easy path, and if this is what you want to do, no one can tell you no, and you will fail, and until you succeed.
Beat that. I can't. That's why I just move on.
Just start talking like this. People will love that.
Moved out to Los Angeles like everybody else. I moved out for comic books though. It was when Image Comics got started, and I was an in-house artist at Image. And then about 6 months in, we found out Fox Kids was up the street. So we, this is back in the day where you could just walk in the lobby and say, we're here for jobs. That's exactly what we said, and Gladys, to her credit, these dumb boys are so nice. I call them nice security guard to throw them out. But a man who became my first boss and many times over boss was walking by and go, you knuckleheads, come here. And he pulled us aside and said, let's see your portfolios. Looked through our portfolios and went, all right, Gladys, if they start tomorrow, I'm going to lunch. And he walked off, and we're like, we don't really actually live in Los Angeles. We live like an hour south of here. So, and the next day, I was working on the X-Men cartoon. So, you were Phoenix, right? Yeah. Marvel girl? That was you? Yeah.
That was you. Cool.
Hi.
Take your questions now.
Okay.
Please stand up. Please rate your first question on the scale.
All right, well, I'm actually going to school for 2D animation right now, and I'm kind of new to it, and I'm really nervous about how I'm going to be continuing it, because I don't know if I want to finish my associates and try going to local studios, or if I want to move on to a bigger school and work in 3D, and then try for like the bigger animation studios, and it's just, I'm very nervous about trying to get out there. What would be your advice out there for me, or people like me?
Being nervous is only natural. When you're doing creative work, you're basically putting a piece of yourself out there for other people to see, and that's very anxiety. That can be very nerve-wracking. The only advice I can give you is, while I'm not an artist visually, as a voice actor, you just have to get past that. It's natural to be nervous. Let it motivate you, and let it not stop you. And keep putting yourself out there, and you shouldn't wait for any moment that's the right moment to put yourself in front of people, because if you're no good, they probably will forget you, right? But because that's just the way it's going to be. But if you're good, then you're hiding something from them that shouldn't be.
Are you nervous about the money you're spending to get the degree, whether anybody cares about the degree? Are you naturally nervous?
It's more about like my readiness for it. I'm just nervous about how ready I am.
You're never going to be ready when they hire you for that first job.
Yeah.
You may think, I look back at the guy who hired me and I'm like, what was he thinking? I was so not ready for that.
He was
gig.
drunk though.
And then 3 years earlier, when I was trying to break into the business, and when I was trying to break into comics, and I thought I was ready, I wasn't ready. So I was working on Spider-Man 2 weeks ago, and went in to work on the show, and for the first week, I wasn't ready because I hadn't been working on that show for a while. So it's always a matter of having that confidence. Which kind of goes back to what you were talking about. You're going to go in, and once you've been doing the job for a while, but you're in that I'm not doing the job for a while stage. So, are you going to school out here?
No, I'm from Austin.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Welcome.
Thank you.
And so, you say 2D? Are you wanting to be a board person, a director, or a character designer, prop guy?
Well, I was kind of thinking about like I can't think of it right now on the spot, but like concept art. or character design, that sort of thing. I'd be interested in, but animation period I'm still new to, so I'm still exploring all those different areas and seeing what I like. And I'm not done with the degree yet, but I could kind of see as I go through, you know, what I like.
There are so many jobs right now compared to what there used to be.
Yeah,
There's
it's true.
just so much opportunity.
I know like Austin is really growing in that area too.
Austin's
so.
got a great community.
Yeah.
And stuff,
I
too.
was working at a game company in Rhode Island a few years ago, and everybody moved to Austin after the game company closed down. So you've got so much opportunity in your backyard.
When I grow up, I want to be an animator, but I'm concerned of what college I should go to, and I'm very fan of Japanese or live in Japan to do it. And I don't know, but what's the best university to go to if you want to be an animator? Like, because the reason why is because I have too many ideas I can't contain them.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, that is.
What are the good programs?
Unfortunately, I
Art
don't know the answer
Institute?
to that question at all.
Depends which avenue you want to go. Once again, you're going into the alumni association, and it's not a guarantee because I teach at Cal Arts a lot. I've taught at Otis in LA. I've taught at the Art Institute. If somebody's really good and they're going to work hard and they're talented, they're going to they're going to be able to take advantage of it because they have those opportunities. But if you're wanting to go into industrial design or design shoes for Nike or cars for Nissan, then I recommend the Art Institute. If you want to go into traditional animation and work at Cartoon Network, then I'm going to recommend Cal Arts. If you're wanting to go into video games, that field is so wide open. Full Sail down in Florida recruits there's a lot of people that get recruited out of there. The game company I was at recently was pulling almost everybody out of Full Sail. And it was because one of the guys used to be a professor at Full Sail. So he knew who to call over at Full Sail. And once again, it's that alumni thing and say, hey, do you have any talented kids? Because we need some guys. We're a new company. We're not paying top dollar, but they were paying professional rates. It was just at the beginning end. So they're like, all right, let's get a whole lot of kids into the industry. So it really just depends like what you want to do. I know people that go to small schools in the middle of nowhere that have a really great professor who used to do the job, and so they're getting access to that knowledge. So where you go to school shouldn't limit you at all. I mean, it's really, the professors can only give you so much if you're a hardworking, motivated person. You guys have the internet. We did not have the internet when we wanted to move to Los Angeles.
Carrier pigeons.
There's this weird invention called the interwebs. Oh, you're right.
We used to have to drive 3 states away to find a guy who knew a guy who had a front porch without a shotgun situation. We'll need to go up and knock, and say, hey, could you tell me about breaking into this business?
Get off my porch.
What? What do you mean, break into my house? Oh, business, I'm sorry.
So those are some recommendations.
And in terms of wanting to do something that someone tells you, oh, you can't do that from here, go back to what Jason said, which is everyone's going to tell you no until somebody tells you yes. There's so many cartoons and animation that are inspired by all different things. There's American stuff that's inspired by anime that you could work on. You could do your own that's inspired by that stuff, dude. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it.
Especially not Hope.
Yeah.
Several times she wanted me to be a farmer until I tell her shut the hell up. I don't want
Yeah.
this. And then
You know
she-
what? You tell Hope
and then
we
she
all
became
said
a
shut the
firm
hell
believer.
up. Oh, well, that's right. Yeah. You don't want to live with us, Hope.
You just look at her and go, please.
Thanks a lot.
All right, good question. Let's pick from the magic box of merchandise. You can get a t-shirt too.
So I have a few questions. My first question is I kind of want to be an amateur animator that puts stuff up on YouTube, like animations for YouTubers or stuff like that. Second, if I'm doing an action-based but a lot of feely moments in an anime, what would I do? 2D or 3D animation?
What can you do?
Well,
Can you do both of them?
I'm focusing on 2D right now.
And do what you can do. I would say do the best possible version of what it is you can do. And if it's going to be awesome in 2D, great. If it's going to be just all right in 3D, maybe you could try it and do something else.
But also do what best serves the project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What best serves what you feel is the mood of the project.
And also, you have a chance to put yourself out there on YouTube
Yeah.
now. Like there's,
Yeah.
all I was taking around as a tape to people when I was getting into the business, and then a CD, and then, I had to hand crank this crap.
Real to real.
And tape it together. But now you have this wonderful platform, so you can work on it a lot. Certain people see it and get their feedback before you let the entire world see it. You have all that flexibility, so just don't stop, just do.
You don't need permission.
No, and make no mistake, these places
It's like to use somebody else's character.
are looking online for new talent all the time, and like YouTube and Vimeo and all these platforms are absolutely what they're looking for.
Frederator?
Yeah, Frederator. They're absolutely, except if you're in Ravenclaw, then they're like, you're not Ravenclaw. Oh,
yeah.
That's embarrassing.
But technically I can Slytherin too, so.
Slytherin. Oh, okay, good. All right.
You'll be double major. Come get something.
Good question. Come get some.
Avengers assemble. Hi.
Avengers Assemble.
I have a question. If you want to work for like the high companies like Pixar or something, what would you like? What type of goals should you set to get to that like state? What would you say that your goals would be to get there?
Good question.
Yeah.
I can tell you right off the bat, all of these companies want really talented people to come work for them, and on their websites, they all have what they would like you to do. So give permission to go on the internet first. Then you can go and check out their submissions policies, and they'll say, we want to see this in your portfolio. We want to see so many life drawings. So go to the zoo and draw. I highly recommend that, because the first thing that'll happen when you get your job is they're going to go, you're going to go draw that thing you're really horrible at drawing. So it's good to not be horrible at anything. So the stuff you don't like drawing, that's the stuff you should be drawing the most of. If you don't like drawing cars, draw lots of cars, because they may go, well, we only have a job for animating these cars, because we're going to be called Cars. Portfolio, that's a good thing. So that would be the first thing I would do, is just go on. If there's a specific company you want to go work for, go see what it is that they want you to
A
be.
lot of them do internships as well, and good for you for being focused. Like, stay focused on it and keep telling everybody that's what you want to do, and keep moving towards it, because eventually you will get there. Like, nothing is better than just that ambition and focus.
You will gain momentum.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Good luck. Hi, that is an awesome costume.
Thank you. It's from Sunset Overdrive.
Oh,
Heads up for
yeah.
fans out there. So I have a couple questions. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. It's not. I'm not gonna
I
drill
don't think
you.
you're gonna get 2 prizes.
Darn it. Okay. So the first question is, what would be a good like state to move to for like the video game industry?
A happy state. Creativity.
Like Washington or New York or California. Yeah.
I would only say be open to moving, not necessarily, if you have friends in any of the states you just threw out, that's always a good thing. But if you've got a network, I moved to Orlando, Florida to break into comics because I thought I would be breaking into TV there because I knew a guy there. Drove all the way from the West Coast to Florida, ran into a buddy at a comic shop and said, they were hiring an image. And then turned around and had to drive all the way back. So it was a good drive. I was very tired that week. But
Without the drive, you never would have done it.
it all works out sometimes. So that's really important. But people in the gaming industry, it's not, you tend to work on project to project. So everybody I know that works in games has had to move from one state to another every couple of years. There's very rarely are you in the same place for very long. And if you want to stay in the game industry, you have to be willing to move. There are only a handful, and I say handful, and it's not even a full 5 companies where you're going to go and work for very long. Blizzard down in Southern California is one of them. Sony just shut down everything down in San Diego. They've been there for 10 years, and that was an anomaly. That wasn't a normal thing to have I'm gonna go get a job and be here for 10 years.
Washington still has a lot going on.
Yeah, and the nice thing about a place like Austin or like Washington is if you do get laid off at that job, and everybody gets laid off, that's something, they're just.
You're actually perpetually laid off. The other side is the anomaly when you're actually working.
There's two kinds of jobs. Jobs you've lost and jobs you haven't lost yet.
Yeah.
That's it.
So that's, you know, just pick a place that seems like it'd be a nice place for you to live, or just apply everywhere, and then the first one that gets you in, that's where you go.
Okay, cool.
All right, what else?
And second question is, what are good companies to start out with? Like, I'm still in high school, but after, 4 years of wonderful college, where should I start, I should say?
I would start before you graduate college. I would get an internship if you can, and I would say there's no really bad place.
Right, I was gonna say, if there's any company you could not see yourself working for, like, I don't know, for whatever reason, you didn't like something they did, or there was a harassment thing, or whatever, other than that, all of them. Like, if you don't have one you have some aversion to for some reason, then everybody else is game.
They'll all teach you something.
Yeah.
Okay, and then, so I have an internship right now to be an environmental artist for this one game company called Teeny Templates. And funny story, I don't know how to do environments, so any tips? I mean, I do, but
Nobody heard of that TV company where it's
You and I qualified for that same internship.
That's fantastic. And that's exactly, it's like what that other young girl said, like, it's absolutely the way your first gigs work, is that you are thrown into the deep end of something and you do not know how to do it. And that's maybe better because you don't know what rules you're breaking, but it will also be a nice learning curve. You'll have to learn very quickly on the job. Certainly don't tell anybody there you don't know what you're doing. They'll figure it out. So.
But he'll either know or he'll end up hired.
Just go. But that's great.
And right after the convention, I want you to go on the internet and look up as much as you can. For tomorrow morning's day over.
Start learning about it.
Do you have any websites to suggest, like, for learning how to do?
There's this bizarre search engine called Google.
There's, like, some websites just know so much and they're not really good sources.
For people that want it, it's a 2D, 3D company.
3D.
Gnomon, Gnomon.
G-N-what?
G-N, the worst spelling ever. I don't know what the guys were thinking when they started school. There were some friends of mine who used to be at another school that didn't pay you. They're like,
I know, dude, I can't get this domain name. It just
Just type a bunch of letters.
Get to know me.
Go to the keyboard and go like this.
They have DVDs, they have tutorials online, they have all kinds of stuff. That's why I LA to take classes. Everybody that works there is currently doing whatever they're talking about. So you're learning from people that got off work.
And then
We're gonna cut you off in 3 because we have so many other people.
Sorry.
that are in line behind, but afterwards, if you want to come up and ask us.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, that's great. Good work.
Hello.
Nice cosplay.
Yeah, effort.
So both of my parents have worked in the computer animation basically since it started, and they did mostly like advertisement and like sport animations for sports teams. So they did some like Suns and Diamondback stuff, but they have friends in like Hollywood animation type businesses.
What are their numbers?
Yeah, you're all set.
But
Do you have a card?
no, I don't, unfortunately.
Or a hologram.
Would you like to come sit up here?
No. Many of their friends have gotten laid off or whatever, so they have quite a cynical view of sort of the industry in general, and I just wanted to know what your take on that was.
We agree.
We're on vacation. This is not that kind of career. Like this is.
Just the concept of that was so awesome, right? Like, man, I did this one show and I'm all done.
He's right. I mean, being a freelance creative is a sales job. So that means you're either doing a job or you're looking for a job. And that's it. You got 2 seasons in your life.
Right.
Doing a job and looking for a job. And both can be great and both are awesome, but it's certainly not fulfilling for everyone. And if you're looking for security, it can be disappointing sometimes because you don't get it a lot. You know, and very rarely do you get any sort of sense of security, and so that can be hard. But look, I'm not cynical about it. I don't think I know these guys pretty well. They're not cynical about it. I think it's a great community that loves what they do.
Also, if you want security, you could marry into an incredibly rich family.
Right.
I didn't even think about that one.
Boom, smart.
That's all.
I'm always selling myself, and I'm also working in animation.
How's business?
Sure.
I'm not horizontally challenged, I'm just vertically gifted.
Does that help at all?
Yeah, that does. Thank you very much.
I think we all know a lot of people that are very cynical about what they do when they're not working, and it's always great when you are. So it's very binary.
And it's good for you guys to hear that too, because I think a lot of times when you go to schools, they're like, you know, you're gonna go. Their job is to teach you and then go, good luck. You know, you're gonna get jobs. And they don't tell you you're gonna get a job, you're gonna lose a job, and then you're gonna get another job, and lose that job.
They whitewash it.
Yeah, because otherwise you wouldn't spend all that money to go to school. Exactly. So, you know, it's really important to know that like, hey, this is normal and this is okay. You know, you're gonna be able to have a fun, fulfilling career at this, but it comes down to a personality type. Like, can you handle the fact that like, the show, and when we say layoff, I mean, that's just how we approach it to make ourselves, it's the reality of it. But really, you know, you're on the show, season 1 ends, and they're like, we'll see you again in 6 months. And you're like, I cannot not get paid for 6 months. I am heading over to DreamWorks to get paid over there. And then they call you back in 6 months, but you're over at DreamWorks, and then DreamWorks wraps up, and then you're over at Nickelodeon, and then you're over somewhere else. That's the reality of it. It's not that they don't want you back, it's just there's these time periods sometimes between point A and point B, that if you are married and have a kid, that you're like, I can't not feed 3 people.
That will make you cynical, I can imagine.
Yeah.
And especially if you're thinking, you know, I'm good enough and I should be working. I worked before, I should work now. That sometimes has absolutely nothing to do with it. That doesn't make you any less good at your job. It just means that's the nature of this job. You're also fighting tremendously talented people. I mean, anytime I work, I know I had to beat out some incredibly amazing people, and I'm just plain grateful for that, period.
Thank you.
Cool. Come get something.
Hello, I'm going into my junior year of high school next year, and I'm a little discouraged by the seemingly lack of resources available. And I just don't like, every time that I look something up on Google, I just feel like it leads me to like another dead end or something. And I feel like I have some potential to potentially like, have like a career in this field, but like I just don't know where to start. And I feel like I should develop some skills like now, and I don't really want to wait. So, what do you guys think?
What do you want to do?
I am thinking animation, like 3D animation, or something like around the lines of video game design and stuff.
Well, you can start by taking some classes with the computers that run those kinds of programs. Certainly, I would think.
I'm just not a 3D animator, but my gut feeling is that there are so many small independent games like being made almost all the time, everywhere, little stuff, that it shouldn't be that hard to get at least to touch some of that. Even if it's just to be, I don't know, a tester, whatever. But then you're like, hey, by the way, just thought I'd show you this thing I designed. It all kind of always works that way, that you just have to reach out and try to touch it. And unfortunately, I don't have an awesome website that I can just point to. It's awesome.
Now you do.
Yeah, right? I can't even spell it.
Earthnerf.com.
My cat named this.com.
Does Maya still have a free student edition?
Motivated enough and aware enough to notice that puts you ahead of a lot of people, because there's so many. If these jobs are just handed out left and right, everybody'd be doing it because they're fun. They're not handed out.
And we make it look like everybody's doing it, but we've been pushing for a long time.
It really is up to everybody in here, if it's really what you want to do, to go and make it happen for yourself. You've got such an incredible tool with the Google, to where you can just go. It may be dead end, but then the next one may not, and so just keep plugging away, and don't wait for somebody to teach you. Go out there and find the resources to make it happen. Because you can do online tutorials now. You can drive. Like I said, I had to drive very far away to go make it happen. How many people like watching TV? All right. How many people like playing video games? All right. How many of you could give all of that up for 3 years like I did to get really good at my craft, where I didn't go out on Friday nights in college, I didn't watch TV, I still don't watch much TV because I can get a lot more of my own stuff. So you gotta have that drive of like, you know what, there's stuff I'm willing to give up, and you gotta figure out what that stuff is. And sometimes it's finances. Like, I'm gonna invest $4,000 in myself to learn this program.
Right.
That's all the money I plan to save up to go do something fun, or to have a cell phone. Do you need a cell phone? Do you need, you know, it's you start thinking.
But you're
along
investing
those
in
lines.
yourself,
You
which
are,
what
right.
else
It's
are
a
you
long-term investment in you.
Because you want to ultimately do that, because it fills you with joy. Those other things are temporary pleasures, but this is going to fill you with long-term joy. So.
Yeah. Right. Thanks, guys. So much.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, so I just have like, hi, Sam.
Audience loves you.
Yeah.
I just have 2 questions right
Okay.
now. So I'm considering a career in wanting to do storyboard or probably writing for animation soon. I'm actually going to be starting at ASU later on, which I'm excited for.
Great.
And I have a question for you writers, you guys. How would you deal with problems like writer's block? Like, that's a really hard thing.
I can't think of an answer.
Thankfully, I suffer from voice block, and
Voice block?
I'll tell you what I do. Like, the best thing for me is to, when I'm trying to crack a problem, you go up against it like really hard. You're like, I gotta figure it out. It always comes to you in the shower or washing dishes or like something when you're not trying to break it anymore. You are doing something else, and that's when the idea comes to you. So I find that I need to sort of load in the background and go do something else.
Right.
And for me, I don't know about these guys, I have to have input. Like, I have to fill the well. I want to go to the movies, or I want to go to a museum, or I want to go for a walk. I need to, like, get other things into my brain, and then that inevitably gives me an answer. Because I go, oh my gosh, I hadn't thought of, that's a great idea. Oh wait, if I pull this, it can connect to this, and then everything starts locking together. So for me, I sort of have to distract my brain and go, don't look over here, let's go do this. And then while I'm doing this, my brain goes, oh wait, I looked over here. Now I have the answer. Okay. So that's a really lo-fi way to do it for me.
It's good. It's good. I'll give you the best piece of advice I got, which is, this is like an actual thing we can do. Go down to a newsstand if you know where one is, if there is still one in Arizona.
What is this newsstand?
And buy 3 magazines that you wouldn't normally buy. Cat Fancy, Guns and Ammo, Field and Stream, whatever.
We don't know you, you might buy all of them.
You may have subscriptions.
Those may be your 3 favorite, and there's nothing wrong.
But 3 that you wouldn't normally buy. And don't worry about reading the articles, just page through them quickly, look at the ads, look at the headlines, look at the articles, and free associate. Write down anything that occurs to you. And it's going to read like gibberish the first time you go back and look at it, but it may spark something in you. So just free associate, and then after you're done, go back and look at that pad and see if any ideas occur. And you'll be surprised how many ideas you get out of that.
Yeah,
That's a great idea.
It really helps.
Or you can go to the public library, aka Barnes and Noble.
That's true. Okay, so my next question is that for the writers again, and voice actor, how would you create emotion in your writing, like such powerful, intense emotions? Like whenever you're dealing with like an intense scene, like how would you build up the emotion into that in order to create like a climax?
Well, it's all about character. If you care about the character, we're going to care about the scene. And if the character is going through emotional turmoil and we are on board for that character's journey, we're going to care. If that is not...
I have 2 questions. First one is, if you are in the animation business, you will never, ever, ever, ever retire, ever, ever.
Is that a question? Just like
That seems like a curse. That seems a little like you're cursing us.
That is just really short.
Is that like true or false?
Yeah.
Look, you can always get out. You can get out of any company. You can always leave. I guess is the question, do you make enough money to stay in it? Is there enough money to save? I mean, it kind of depends on who you are.
I'll let you know.
Right. I'll give you a quick example. So let's say that I have done tons of voiceover work, I had a great career, very fulfilling, and I just kind of wanted to drop the business side of it. I would still go to the public library and read stories for kids with voices in them. Okay? So would that be retired? I don't think I would ever leave my creativity behind. I just don't think I would. Would I leave the business behind? I don't know if I got to that point where I just didn't need it anymore. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, and financially, I mean, it's the same as a guy that starts his own air conditioning repair business. That guy's responsible for setting a 401k plan for himself and putting money in the bank and saving it and getting,
Whoa, what?
I know.
Yeah, no, like, look, freelancing is on you. You are the CEO of your own company, so you're in charge of taking care of yourself, and that means saving, and that means investing, and that means doing the smart thing. And those feel like very big, grown-up things to talk about, but the truth is, like, when you're a freelancer, it is all on you. Like, that is your job, and you have to be responsible, and that's hard, and it's not for
And we are in guilds and unions. There's the Writers Guild and the Animation Guild, and we're, SAG. I mean, so depending what any of us are working on or doing, there are retirement programs and stuff that we're all part of, and institutions, so better set up.
Cool, thank you. Yeah. Let's get everybody in line. Oh, hello.
Hello again.
Again.
What animation programs do you guys use?
Oh, good question.
Software.
Like one for computers.
Photoshop.
Yeah. What program do you suggest for beginners? Like I want to make this picture move. What program do you suggest?
Photoshop, because you have to memorize one thing, and then as you get jobs, and you can do other stuff. We did a Dragonlance movie that came back 5 minutes short. So the producer and I animated 5 minutes of footage. That's Photoshop. That's the only program we knew. You're like, well, it's one drawing after another drawing after another drawing, so let's just ran through those drawings then.
You flip down the layers and
there are other programs, but if you got that one down, you can do it.
Like I'm on this constant chase for animation programs because I have a Mac and I tried because the best animation programs like that I found from internet animators were on PC and I got a Mac. And what are any things that you suggest for the Mac?
Photoshop.
Get a PC.
Parallels, right? Yeah.
All right, let's go to the...
All right.
Blender.
Good question. Thank you.
Somebody asked this before too. Blender is free. I think there's a Mac version of Blender, and there's lots of tutorials. And Maya has a student edition, or used to have a student edition.
Good call. Thank you.
Yeah. But Photoshop Video is awesome too. It's amazing that they added
They're
it.
all just tools, so whatever is the one that you can get the cheapest, that you can learn the quickest.
Yeah.
Start with that one. Hi there. Hey.
Hi, that was basically my question.
Well, come and get something.
Is there any specific thing that's better for like 3D animation or?
Maya and Blender do that.
Posers.
Posers, yeah. Posers helpful.
Posers is fantastic
Unless
for
you're getting a
beginners.
job at a place that's got proprietary software. So once again, it's all up here. The software is just a tool. If you ask me to do a drawing with a charcoal pencil or this kind of pencil, I can still do a drawing because I know how to draw. I may like one over the other. So whatever you can get access to that teaches you how to animate, that's the important part. The software, the studios change them every so often. I was working recently and they're like, why are we having to use this new software? It's like, oh, because some software salesman talked the boss. We all are going back to kindergarten. And I'm like, all right, so we were doing it the old-fashioned way over here. I'm going, and then we put it into this program. But at the end of the day, it's because we knew how to do the job. It's not because the software, So anyway, just whatever you can get access to, that's what you should be getting.
And there's one more little curiosity.
Yeah.
Have you ever done one small part of a drawing that took you forever, and then the rest of the drawings took you half that time?
That happens every day.
I spent a good 16 hours drawing just chainmail in Adobe Illustrator.
If you want to get into animation now, have your little brother or something walk up and crumple it all up and go, that's wrong, do it again. And then you'll be able to do the job. There's no that I ever do that I feel is precious. I used to, when you're younger, you're like, I'll never be able to draw this again as good as I did. You will. You will. You get over that, and then you'll just be like, there you go, perfect, boom, perfect again. I'm so good. Check this out.
Smell this perfection.
It's coming at you.
Yeah.
Right. Just keep drawing. That's the main thing.
All right.
Congratulations.
And then I'm gonna flip it for the rest of the guys.
Oh.
Yeah.
What the crazy?
In a wrestler place, please.
Yes. Have you ever been given some sort of an animation or cartoon or like a series that you have applied a voice that you yourself have thought deserved a different type of accent, or however you come up with your voices? And for the guys, have you ever drawn something and then had the voice applied to it and thought that voice does not fit my character as I drew it?
I'm going to be perfectly honest that anytime somebody wants me to make a voice, I am just happy. Like, if they're like, that fits the character, great. And if somebody didn't like it or wanted me to change it, I'm like, I'll change it on the spot. Tell me what you want. For example, there was a show I was going in for Disney that hasn't been produced yet, had something to do with lions, kings, things like that. And they wanted they wanted a villain, a bad guy. And the first bad guy was like a hyena, like higher up villain. First thing they drew was really skinny, scrawny, like you could tell he was more like, I can't wait to get my hands on that lion cow. Shut up, you fool! Very intellectually bad. When I went in to do the callback, they had shown me a totally different piece of artwork, and he was this buff, brutish bulldog-looking villain. And I was like, okay, totally had something else prepared. And they're like, the artwork has changed. And so in a second, you're like, I'll go a bit right to you. How about we eat you for lunch? Just change it. Because if you're standing there in front of Disney people and you go, well, it's not really what I had prepared. It's not going to do a good job. But instead, if you just let your imagination go, like a kid, there's no wrong answer, and you just go, that's what this is about being creative. So there you go.
And for the artist, I'm like, have you ever actually seen your artwork and finally have some sort of a voice? I felt that wasn't what I had in my own.
Not really, because usually you've got the voice before you start. So in my case, I've had things where they had me put a cape on Spider-Man and sent me down to Comic-Con to explain why I put a cape on Spider-Man.
Wow.
I didn't want to put a cape on Spider-Man, but at the end of the day, even though we're all fans of stuff, this is a career, it's a job. Sometimes you have to go, oh yeah, boss, I don't think that's a good idea. Oh, you still want me to do that? All right, he is going to have the best cape he has ever had. That's the job part of it.
So I feel kind of embarrassed to ask this, since there were already two people who were going to ask something like this. But so my school, because from the 6th through 12th grade, they get no field trips whatsoever. They do term projects at the end of the year, and they're kind of random. So I did digital flipbook animation, and we used Photoshop for that. However, my dad was not able to make it to the showcase for all the term projects, and he wanted to see it, so I took it home on a flash drive. And since we do not have Adobe Photoshop, it wouldn't open. And so I was just wondering if you have any idea about any websites or anything that I should use to convert that into a flipbook animation again, because we tried doing that and it didn't work.
Sorry about that.
I don't mean to be insulting. It's just this guy was really stupid.
Take the flash drive over to Staples. Is his name Photoshop?
Honestly, I feel kind of bad because everybody calls him E.T. since his initials are E.T. But honestly, that movie is way too good to have him named after.
She's staring at me like, he's doing voice now.
We're witnessing the beginning of a supervillain here, so let's not pile on this
I do it so that I don't mess it up, and what can I use to redo to do other stuff like
Staples, they have computers you can Photoshop there. You can just pay like the $5 an hour or whatever, and you can sit there and convert it.
All right, thank you.
Check your public library too. Public library sometimes has programs you can borrow, so like the maker places.
Only a fun question. Yeah.
So, as a graduate with a Bachelor of Arts in Video Game Design, one of the difficulties I faced was finding a job that didn't have the requirement of 3 to 5 years of experience in the industry. So this can actually apply to all of you who have seen new people come in. How have you seen them overcome that, oh, I don't have the 3 to 5 years of experience, but here's my portfolio, please?
Going to shows like this, where you have access directly to the person doing the hiring, and there's lots of game conventions, which can get you into doing animation for games, and if you don't want to be a game person, you can use that portfolio to get out of games, get into traditional animation, whether that's traditional 3D animation or...
Also, back to internships. If you're there, you're on their mind. They know that you're there, they can see the work you're doing every day.
I think that's good. Be willing to do anything. If they're not gonna let you work on a game, but you can work on an interstitial, or you can work on a design, or you can work on one little thing. Like when I started, I was like, I'll do commercials. I'll do the ad. I'll do anything. I don't care. Just give me a shot at doing something, and then I'll work my way up. I don't care what it is. Just let me be around.
Team up with the other guy that had the Bachelor of Arts.
Yeah,
right. Do some crowdfunding and actually make a short film together.
Do something.
The 3 to 5 years they put on there is to discourage people from applying. They're not going, man, this guy's got 2.5, but he's so good.
He just had another month.
They're really just putting that on there to let you know they would prefer somebody that knows what they're doing. But they don't have time to train you. That's basically what that means. So if you know what you're doing, you just got to be able to get your stuff. And the way to get your stuff seen is to have other people see your stuff, talk about your stuff. So whether that's crowdfunding and doing your own film, going to these shows, I mean, there's so many ways around it.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Good question.
Hello.
Hello.
I am interested in designing creatures in animation and games or what have you. Designing mythological creatures, and I'm wondering, would I have to go down the same route as someone who wants to do character development, or would I choose a specific field? In other words, would I take any animation design job handed to me, or would I take a specific one? Because I'm worried if I take just any, I might end up in a place that's totally far from what I want to do.
Right.
Take any.
Take any.
Take any. Get in. There's the two career paths. You're trying to get the job to be known as a monster designer for video game companies. That's a very, you've narrowed your niche. It's very small. Then there's people who go out and they do book covers, and they're famous artists that everybody knows. Charles Lee, blanking on his name, the guy who did all the artwork for the Tolkien movies.
Okay.
He was just happy doing book covers, and Peter Jackson's like, oh, this guy does cool stuff. Now he's in the movie business.
Oh.
And because he was famous for doing a certain thing. Bob Eagleton, who was an amazing Godzilla artist, the dude just loves painting Godzilla. Nobody asked him to. He just painted them over and over again. And finally, next thing you know, Toho's going, you paint Godzilla for us. Then he's an official Godzilla artist. Did the Jimmy Neutron movie, we had a character who was like Godzilla. But we should get Bob to come in and design it.
Because he's the Godzilla guy.
So there's always workarounds, but you know, if you've got somebody wanting to hire you right now, you take the job.
Okay. I don't now, but I will.
And do the other stuff on your spare time, and keep doing it, and show people.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm doing props now, but here's what I love. You know?
There are plenty of people I work with that were just deviant artists years ago that are now art directors at Warner Brothers and DreamWorks and other places I work with. So other artists see it and they're like, that dude's cool, that stuff, she's great, we should hire her, bring her in. Share it out. Yeah.
All right, good question. Three things left. God, that's embarrassing. I find myself. I know, right?
So my question is about whenever I animate, it's like super choppy, even when I make the movements like really small from like screen to screen. How do you fix that? Because
always
Take the
really
computer and
choppy.
just whack it. With Photoshop.
Photoshop box.
Right now I'm using SI Paint and a Microsoft Movie Maker system, but whenever I animate, it's like really choppy and it's frustrating.
Can you animate it on 2s and 4s? I mean, this could be, we could be here for hours. So,
Minor IT question?
my advice would be, without having seen it, find somebody that knows what they're doing and show them the very specific problem you're having, because it could be 2 softwares not being compatible. It could be that you need to do more drawings in between the drawings that you have. It could be you have too many drawings in between the drawings you have and you're not getting the effect you want. Sometimes for comedy, it's better to have than it is to have all fluid, smooth motion. Anime works awesome because they do 2 really great drawings and they'll slide them slowly. And it gives a mood, and it's a totally different way than what traditional animation used to do. But we're seeing more and more. When we worked on Teen Titans, we were borrowing a lot of stuff from Japanese, Fooly Cooly specifically. So. I can't, there is no right answer for that one other than you've got to find somebody and show them the little segment that you're having a problem with.
Better answer than me. I was going to say, maybe try turning the project off and then turning it back on.
I was going to say, like you have a peanut butter nail that's stuck in your CU roll.
And the breakfast club. Boom!
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you use reference video?
What's up? Hello. Okay, so this is more a question of curiosity from your point of view. As far as adapting a comic into an animation or vice versa, I've heard that for animation, it's better to have a simpler look, not so detailed as it is, as opposed to a dedicated comic. My question is, what is your view from translating one to the other?
Well, I can't speak from a design point of view, but working with the guys at Warner Brothers, adapting like Justice League War, Throne of Atlantis, I know that Phil Busara is interested, the character designer, is interested in capturing the essence of these characters, but still making something simple enough to be able to replicate. Things that are really ultra detailed become problems down the road because they become very, very expensive. If that's not an issue for you and your project, go for it. But with the budgets, I mean, it's still a business on that end that I'm talking about. So with their budget, it becomes very important that they boil down the characters to the simplest amount of lines that still make it iconic. So it's not the best answer, but it's really sort of goes with whatever your budget is and what you can do. Would I like it to be as detailed as like an Alex Ross Kingdom Come painting? Absolutely, that would be rad. But that's $100 million budget, and that's not what we have.
Per frame.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right.
I have nothing to author.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
Cool.
Thank you, everybody.
I'm pretty sure they'll answer your questions on there.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
4139, but I'm not there.
7046 for me. Yeah, 540.